Hello, 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 and welcome to Updog Sports Talk. My name is Matt Miller. Joining me today is Justin McGovern, and today we are going over the NFC West. Justin,
Let's go.
how excited are you?
I am very excited. This is one of the more interesting divisions each year. Be very cool to dive in. Some interesting headlines going around. Yeah, let's dive in.
Yeah, so if you're new to Updog Sports Talk, we are in the middle of our 40 videos in 40 days to get all of our NFL previews out so you can see what we think about them, how we break them down and everything. But we are a sports show that represents the little guy. So the Jaguars of the world, the Cardinals of the world, going to college football, the UTRGV Vaqueros of the world.
Yeah.
We represent the little guy. We make sure that to shed some light on everybody as much as we can. We do talk about the top, like the LeBrons and the Tom Bradys and everything like that all the big networks talk about, but we don't spend every waking moment talking about them. We bring other teams into the equation. On that note, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Justin, who are we starting with?
We are starting with the San Francisco 49ers. Who could have seen this coming?
Who could have thought?
Now the question is, what do the 49ers have here? Do they have a redemption tour in them? This team really surprised us in a bad way last year. Everything seemed to have went wrong and they collapsed to dead last in the division. Now it's time to kind of look at and see what they're doing to try to get back. So let's start with their offseason moves here. What strategy do we see them using this offseason, Matt? What strategy do you see?
I mean, they brought in some guys that could fill some holes, so they didn't just focus on one side of the ball. They know they needed everything. They brought in Thomas Morstead, who is going to really help them flip the field. I think that was something that they didn't.
Off of a punter, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was something that they missed out on last season. I don't think they had a great special teams. They dealt with a lot of injuries the past couple years, so I think now that we're going to see full team, I think it's going to be kind of electric to have them back. I mean, Brock Purdy just made a bag, but you can see they're bringing in Mac Jones for if Brock Purdy were to go down, they aren't completely out of it.
How crazy is it that in that draft when they got Brock Purdy with the last pick, all the rumors prior to draft day were that they were going to trade up to number 3 and get Mac Jones. And now here we are years later, Mac Jones is backing up a guy that they scooped up in the last pick of the draft.
Yeah, that's wild times. But Justin, where do you think they nailed it in the draft? I mean, we talked about who they brought in. Now, who do you think is going to be the difference maker in this draft?
Before I go into the draft, I will mention one other thing we saw for them in the offseason in free agency and stuff. We saw them cut a lot. They shed a lot of veterans off this roster. Deebo Samuel's gone, for instance. That kind of stuff. So that was a little bit of an interesting thing. But transitioning here to the draft, you look at there's a clear strategy here that they really wanted to hit the defense hard. You got Michael Williams in the first round, Alfred Collins to help stop the run. They have CJ West, Nick Martin, all these guys early on in the draft. They had a ton of draft picks. Actually, I missed Upton Stow as well. All of those guys, all taken early, they clearly saw an issue with their defense, and they were correct to do so. Their defense was aging. It was beginning to struggle. And now you've added a lot of interesting young blood in here. Now, if you want to get into Super Bowl contention, you need all these guys to step up. But, yeah, I was very fascinated by that. You look at, on offense, they added some other targets to hopefully add depth, Jordan Watkins is another 4th-round pick they made. Jordan James. I mean, the 49ers. They always take a running back in the late rounds of the draft every single year. So that's not a surprise. But then another guy I really like is Junior Bergen, who is a major playmaker at returner, especially for the Montana Grizzlies. That guy could be someone who really makes an impact on special teams initially. We're starting to see rules are trying to get the return game more involved in stuff, so Junior Bergen could be a guy who could be valuable as a result of that. So
they did pretty good.
Yeah.
I think they did a pretty good job in the draft. But one thing that we haven't talked about yet. Do you know who their defensive coordinator is, Justin?
No. Who is it?
Robert Saleh. He made his way back to Bay Area. He's maybe not the best head coach, but he is really good.
He was with the Jets, so
yeah. But when he was a defense coordinator for the Niners the last time around, there was no better coordinator out there. Like Robert Saleh deserved to get a head coaching job, and I think he's gonna whip this defense into shape.
He knows a way around a defense too. Like when he got fired from the Jets, their defense instantly got much worse.
Yes. So that's why I'm not terribly worried. But I mean, I think one of their weaknesses is like the lack of experience now on defense. I mean, yeah, you have Nick Bosa, and Fred Warner, and a few other guys. Like the backups are almost all rookies. You're not super deep.
One area I'm definitely looking at is the secondary, which secondary has often been an issue in San Francisco. That's usually their weaker spot. Like, I'm not concerned about the front. I feel like they're pretty good and deep up front. It's the secondary I'm looking at that might be an issue.
Yeah. They brought in Trey Brown, so that'll help. But
yeah, absolutely. And mentioning question marks, I think the biggest question mark with this team is, what are we going to get out of Christian McCaffrey? Is he going to be ready to go this season? And do we see a whole season out of him at full ability?
Yeah, I think they can get pretty far if he's healthy. If he has another season where he gets hurt, you might be looking for a replacement. And I think it helps that they got undrafted running back Corey Kiner.
Since I Bearcat mentioned.
Yeah, shout out. I do think that he should have been drafted. But the fact that he made his way here just makes this that much deeper of a running back room. Garendo is pretty good. Patrick Taylor Jr., I think he was the running back in XFL for a couple years. So he did really well down there. So I think they have a deep running back room. But, I mean, it hinges on CMC. If he's not healthy, then this offense is looking a little light on weapons.
Yeah, he is irreplaceable. They have built so much around him. He is just such a critical piece of this team. The next headline I think we need to talk about here, and I don't even know whether to put this in a weakness or strength. Brock Purdy got paid. How do you feel about it?
I don't think it's gonna affect too much this year. I think we've seen them trim the fat to make it work. Maybe they were trimming some fat to bring in some of the deep free agent pool that's out there. I mean, he deserved more than what he was getting paid. That was ridiculous. There has to be some kind of incentive that you can put on like 7th round picks to, like, if he lucks into starting, then he still gets paid not even vet min. Like, that's what, $150,000 a year?
Yeah.
Which is a slap in the face to every player. But
I almost feel like part of this contract, and I mean, I know you can't put contracts this way, but like, I feel like almost some of it is like back pay for how underpaid he's been the last few years.
I mean, I would have done the same. He's done so much for this franchise. Might as well just give him a little bit of extra to be like, hey, thank you for putting us back on the map. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this contract adds urgency to the situation. You're going to see more cuts coming as the cap hit gets higher. Usually about year 3 is when that starts to hit. So it almost feels like their Super Bowl window might be still open right now. Obviously, I know there's some question marks, but you're probably not getting too much longer than another year or two in this window. Yeah. Unless you manage things really well.
2 years ago, I think it was as open as they could get, and now it's starting to shut.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they got a little left in the tank. They got a really good coaching staff, so that's going to help. But right now,
let's go over some strengths here to kind of wrap it up.
I mean, healthy offense. This is a good squad. CMC, obviously Purdy. When is Aiyuk coming back this year?
Yeah, Aiyuk I'm sure is going to be back this year.
Okay, if Ayuk's back, Pearsall and Jennings are healthy, and they keep that offensive line healthy. You got Kittle, you got those guys. I think there's a lot of mouths to feed, but it's not as bad as it was before. They brought in Demarcus Robinson to help out with depth, but I think if any of these guys go down, it all just flips to a weakness. But right now, I think that's their strength, is they got some guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's check up on the latest report here of Aiyuk before we move on from this subject.
But I really do like the Mykel Williams pick. I think that's going to be a difference maker on defense.
Oh, big time. Like, that was a steal
Huge steal.
That was a steal at that point in the draft. Like, we had him mocked, like, at least in the teens. And the fact that the 49ers were able to sit there at 25 and get him, that was a great move.
Yeah.
And if I recall correctly, they traded down to get there, too.
Yes. And then following that up with Collins, like, this is going to be a good defensive line as long as they can get production out of Nick Bosa. Since he got his deal, I feel like his name's been a little quiet lately.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's going to kind of help take the pressure off of him. Like you said, Michael Williams is in there. And the depth is really nice, too. Like, Yetur Gross-Matos is a solid, he can rotate in there and be a good pass rusher. Bryce Huff from Philadelphia was a good addition. That really helps with the depth of the front.
Yes. Any news you found on Aiyuk?
Definitely, so far it feels like everything I'm seeing is it seems like he's going to be back this year.
Okay, cool. Well, since everything seems to be good for the 49ers, let's see what the Cardinals are doing.
Time for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this is a team that we kind of looked at last year and said, maybe they're a year away. And they kind of operated like that. They were better, but not quite ready to reach in the playoff contention. So now the question is, did they make the moves this offseason they needed to do in order to get themselves to that point into getting in the contention for playoffs? Let's kind of talk about their offseason strategy here. What do you see from them and what they did?
They noticed that they're just a handful of pieces away from making this thing work on defense, and I think they nailed it. I mean, they drafted Walter Nolan, stud. They drafted Will Johnson, stud. I feel like they've been nailing every draft the past 3 or 4 years, and I think it's starting to come to fruition. I mean, we mentioned going into the draft a few years ago that maybe the Cardinals are just going to suck forever. And then quietly, each year, you and I notice that they do really well in the draft, and then they get in a couple of vets to kind of right the sinking ship. Dude, I really think they're just a few pieces away. I mean, they got Akeem Davis-Gaither to play linebacker. He didn't get a whole lot of opportunity in Cincinnati because they had Wilson and Pratt. But when he made his way in there, he did a really good job. They brought in a really old Calais Campbell at this point, but can be productive.
Calais Campbell has been going for a long time.
Since 2008, dude.
Yeah.
Dalvin Tomlinson.
38 years
Josh
old.
Sweat. Yeah.
You said
Dalvin Tomlinson, Josh Sweat.
Yeah.
Denzel Burke. Like I said, they drafted Will Johnson for the secondary. They had just gotten Max Melton last year. So I think they have the pieces on defense to start looking a little scary. But when I turn my attention to the offense, I don't think they did enough on offense. I think they were like, defense is such a big need that we're going to have to just get everybody there. I think there's still a couple receivers away from making this work. They have a lot of faith in Michael Wilson, and I would too. But right now, Michael Wilson still feels like a rotational guy. So maybe he can step up a little bit. Marvin Harrison Jr., a lot of targets last year, not a lot of catches. Didn't break 1,000 yards. So I'm going to need to see more from him. Then you got your over-the-top guy, Zay Jones. But outside of that, it's not great. A few return guys, a couple guys to fill the roster, but I feel like they needed one more name. I feel like Gabe Davis would have been perfect here to make this core work, but defensive running back depth, I think, is another question. We haven't seen a whole lot from Benson because he came into the league and hurt himself. But when he was healthy, he wasn't the ooh and ah kind of running back that they kind of need. James Conner is still holding that part down. But I don't want to put all my faith in James Conner in this offense,
He's been going for a long time, though. It's been an impressive run for him, but you definitely worry being a running back, especially a power back entering age 30 is where you start to get a little bit of concern,
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of look at this team and you think their moves sort of reflect that perspective of you can try to scheme up an offense, but you can't cover up a bad defense, so they want to address the defense first. And that seems to be what they have done here. They went after the defense, and looking at that draft again, Walter Nolan, Will Johnson was a fantastic 1-2 punch to start out with. I don't like that we see Jordan Birch kind of buried on the depth chart at this point.
Yeah.
That was your 3rd-round pick. You're going to need him to get going, but it does go to show that there's at least some depth there. So far, former first-rounder Zaven Collins has not panned out the way that you thought he would, and I think you're right, though. Like, that's my one complaint about this draft is, like, I like to see... I understand you didn't have that many picks. Like, you pretty much just had your basic 7 picks this team, but, I mean, other than drafting a backup offensive lineman, you did nothing on offense. And with the depth that was available at running back, the depth that was available at receiver in this draft, I would have liked to just see something.
Yes, I agree.
At least help add yourself some depth, because, like, yeah, you're looking at a situation here where there's not a lot of options here at receiver that really intimidate you a whole lot. Like, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a guy that defenses can double up. And what else are you left without?
One-on-one with Zay Jones on the outside. I mean, it worked for Zay Jones in Jacksonville. It didn't really work for Zay Jones anywhere else. So
yeah. So this kind of transitions us, yes, to our question marks of this team. I think receiver, in particular, receiver depth is a huge question. I mean, you do have Trey McBride, who is a huge target at tight end. You got him extended. He's happy. He's in for the long haul. So he's probably one of their more dynamic players. A bit of a mismatch weapon that helps out Kyler Murray, which somehow we have gotten this far in the Cardinals and not talked about Kyler Murray yet.
Well, he just kind of he just fades into the abyss come October.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as October hits, you just forget that Kyler Murray plays football. Like, he lights it up in August and September, but then everyone jokes that it's the Call of Duty release dates, but I don't know. I think his window's closing, and I think they're gonna want to take a stab at this soon if they want to give him anything. But
I feel like this is a very rare situation too, where it feels like a franchise has not been fully... I don't know if they're not fully sold on him yet, but at least the public media is not sold on him yet. And yet he has been here for such a long time at this point.
6 years.
Yeah.
This will be his 6th year. So, yeah, I mean, he's shown that he can play. You can't rely on his legs. He's starting to get up there in age. Legs break down. So, he's going to have to... We're gonna have to see a lot more from him in the pass game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you could put him down for a weakness. I mean, he's a strength and a weakness. You just don't know if you're going to get him to throw for 250 and rush for 100, or if he's going to throw for $150 and have like really no rushing yards and been sacked like 12 times.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I guess transitioning to strengths, though, I will say the offensive line kind of has some flaws to it, but it's definitely better than it's been in the past. I feel like they've really, ever since they drafted Paris Johnson to be that big man at left tackle, it's really helped upgrade the rest of the unit for them. And
yes,
now they're playing solid ball.
Yeah, I mean, like, nothing other than Paris Johnson, no name really sticks out. I mean, Jonah Williams maybe, but like he didn't really pan out in Cincinnati. So like you don't have and Evan Neal, but you don't have the biggest names on the offensive line. But they're all quietly studs. Like,
yeah, like most of them are pretty solid. Like, I think there's a few guys in here you could probably stand to upgrade a little bit, but overall, it was not the most pressing matter this offseason, for sure. Like, it was a very solid unit for this team.
Yeah. I like the Cardinals.
I like the secondary a little bit, though.
Yeah.
How about the fact that Budda Baker's still here? Like,
he almost forced his way out.
Yeah, I feel like that was like 5 years ago. He almost forced his way out. And here he is, still here, still playing good ball for them. So I like the secondary quite a bit. And again, we mentioned it a little bit, but Josh Sweat was definitely one of the huge pickups. He brings a Super Bowl winning pedigree to this defense.
And they brought in a BJ Ojulari, solid pass rusher.
Yeah.
So I think maybe they're set with defense for a while. I mean, maybe another pass rusher to fill in for Campbell at some point, but I think defensively, I think they got it.
Yeah. They need a couple things. Like, they need maybe one of these old, like, first-round picks. I don't know what we're going to see out of Zaven Collins. I I think the ship has almost sailed on him, but Darius Robinson was their first round pick last year. Like,
Yeah.
if they could get a big year out of him, that would be huge. But again, I mean, Zaven Collins, like, sometimes it takes guys a few years and maybe it clicks in the league. So you get one of those guys to step up and you could be looking at a pretty good defense.
Now, moving on from Arizona, switching gears over to the Seattle Seahawks. Dude, the Seahawks kind of just, in the middle of the night, shoved everyone out and brought in a whole cast of new people.
That's a great summary for their offseason strategy.
I mean, you have JSN, who's going to be their clear-cut number one. They shoved DK out the door when he wanted $100 million. You bring in Cooper Kupp, you bring in Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Now you have actually a solid receiving core. Jake Bobo showed that he could do stuff. Torrey Horton, Ricky White III, both solid names, very underrated. They just got shoved down to the late rounds. They got Gray Zabel. I think he's a huge pickup for them. So I want to see a little bit more on this offensive line, but I think it's definitely headed in the right direction. You have Sam Darnold hitting the age that Aaron Rodgers did when he first started in the NFL. So, like, made his first starts in the NFL.
It feels like Sam Darnold's been around forever. I cannot
Forever, dude. Like, when you think about it, he's only 27 or 28. Like, that's not that old. Like, he probably has, if he can play like he did last year, he probably has, like, another, 7-8 years in.
Yeah, it's very possible.
They've got a really deep running back core. Defensively, I don't really think defense has been much of a problem, but now you bring in DeMarcus Lawrence. They just signed Shaq Griffin the other day. Nick Emwari, huge pickup in the draft. Riley Mills, really good pickup, coming off of injuries, so I think they got him with a steal. Just want to see how he comes back from that injury. But they're doing everything right. They were in contention. They shoved everybody out the door, brought in new people, and I still think they can be in contention.
Yeah, some of it was a little bit confusing just because on one hand, you're kicking a lot of guys out. It almost felt like they were sort of doing a whole redo of this whole thing. And then you kind of make some signings where it's like, okay, not quite. We're not quite resetting, but we're also, it just felt like a stagnant offseason as a result of that, but maybe it'll work out. Maybe they're going for some guys who are going to fit the offense better. It just, you look at a guy like Cooper Kupp, who is definitely at the tail end of his career, and you would have thought he would have signed more of a Super Bowl contender than the Seahawks.
He's from up there, so it doesn't necessarily super surprise me. He already has the ring, so maybe at this point he just wants to play in front of his family. I can see that being the case. But I like what they did. They brought in Elijah Arroyo, and I think him and Fant can be a good dual tight end set. You have a few names in receiver that you can keep the offense going. You don't have I wouldn't say JSN is super elite yet, but he has shown flashes of what he could be. If Sam Darnold can have him be the number one and he can show that he can do it, I think this team can do a lot this season, a lot more than what people think.
Yeah. And looking at this draft, I really enjoyed what they put together with the draft here. Gray Zabel was a huge pick in the first round, helping this offensive line. We'll talk about the offensive line a little bit in the next section. But he was a very good pick. They try to address the tight end position with Elijah Arroyo. Usually takes rookies a little bit of time to get it going, but I think he could eventually become a huge contributor for them. But you mentioned Nick Emmanwori. I'm hard time pronouncing that, but he was a really good pickup for the secondary. And I really did enjoy some of these late round picks here. You look at Torrey Horton, kind of fell a little bit because he spent a lot of this past year hurt with Colorado State. Very good pickup. He is extremely good. He could be a guy in the future. Ricky White is definitely a guy in the future. He was a dog at UNLV, and at least early on, he's also going to bring a huge plus in special teams. I believe he led college football in blocked punts last year. Nice. So watch for him to make an impact in that department. At a minimum, he's going to make an impact there. But I think eventually you'll start to see him get involved in the offense as well. And I don't know about the Jalen Milroe pick. He's an athlete. You're You're trying to recreate the whole Jalen Hurts thing with him here. I don't know if he's ever going to be a quarterback, though.
No. I mean, you do have a good athlete with him.
Yeah.
So, like, if you want to move him to receiver or running back or whatever, like, he has probably running back because he's a really good runner. But I think what their plan is right now is to try to mold him into a quarterback because maybe the money you just gave Sam Darnold doesn't work out. And Drew Lock, maybe you don't have a whole lot of faith in Drew Lock either. Jalen Milroe could be a tear it down type of scenario where you throw him out there, try to get him some experience and see where it goes. I think,
but I definitely am scared of that pick just because, like, you know, even if we take the Jalen Hurts route for a moment here, he was with Nick Saban for a bit, even had him coach, you know, the way that helped him win games. Didn't need him to be a quarterback. He was a good enough athlete. Then he goes to, eventually though, he does get replaced and goes to Oklahoma. Becomes more of a quarterback under Lincoln Riley. And that kind of set him up a little bit better heading in the NFL. You look at Milroe's situation, he ended up with an offensive-minded coach in Kalen DeBoer to get developed and play the quarterback position better. We just saw that him coach Michael Penix so well. And it just never clicked for him. He still struggles with a lot of the mental part of the game, reading defenses and stuff like that. Like we saw so, I mean, his last two games were a total mess, to be honest. Against Oklahoma and Michigan. It was a disaster. So, and that was the end of it. That was the end of his time with DeBoer. Like, even at the end of the season, it never really clicked for him. So, we'll see how that pick goes. That's probably my one complaint about their draft. But let's kind of dive into, we kind of hinted at some of them already, but weaknesses, I mean, we probably have to start with the offensive line because it was rated dead last in the NFL last year.
Yes, bad. Grazabell's going to help, but he and Charles Cross can't do it alone. So they got to get this figured out a little bit. I mean, you had some late round guys. Hopefully they can turn into something, but late round offensive linemen hardly ever pan out.
Yeah, I think Abraham Lucas is pretty decent as well. I think where your weakness is at is center and guard. Your tackle situation is actually kind of decent. I want to shout out Michael Jarrell, former Findlay player. Made it from Division II to the NFL. He's in his second year. Maybe we'll get to see him continue to develop. I think I like that guy. You know, we look at the rest. I think I like what they have with the rest of the offense. Tight end. It's kind of hard to believe that Noah Fant is still here. Because he showed up when? This was with the whole Russell Wilson trade.
Yeah.
He's like still here. He's still here, but the problem is it's so quiet that hardly anyone has noticed.
He'll get some good tight end targets out of you, or red zone targets for you. But I mean, like, I haven't heard his name in the middle of the field in a long time. Not what he used to do. So, but I think that's why they got Arroyo. So now you got some competition there.
Yeah. I think, though, I mean, for the next part, we just had to transition right to strengths because you look at this defense is stacked.
Really good, dude. Everyone forgets Byron Murphy's there. Leonard Williams is there. Jaron Reed is there again. They brought in Ernest Jones a couple years ago. And then you look at the secondary, it's Josh Jobe, Julian Love, Kobe Bryant, Tyreek Rulon, Devin Witherspoon, Nick Emenworry, now Shaq Griffin. They're pretty deep in the secondary.
You may not confuse it for the Legion of Boom or anything, but this is a pretty good secondary.
Yes. And having a defensive-minded head coach just helps that much more, too, within this with this defense.
This is why this team quietly hung in the playoff race all year. It's because of the defense, because the defense is really good.
And maybe their offense gets a little bit better this year under Darnold, so that we'll wait to see that. But I mean, like, I think this team has a lot to be excited about this year.
Yeah, I don't think we can rule the Seahawks out from this division.
But, and we all know why everyone's here. Everyone's here for the next team. The greatest team in the division.
The Rams threw up all over you?
Yeah, they did throw up all over me. The Los Angeles, don't call them St. Louis Rams. I saw a podcast the other day that still referred to them as the St. Louis Rams by accident.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
They're just sticking in like, all right, we're not changing what we call this team. This offseason really hinged on a big decision here.
Yes.
Because it was whether Matt Stafford was going to come back. If he did not come back, this thing was getting torn down to the suds. They were starting all over. Matt Stafford decides to come back. He is back for another year, and then they sort of stacked up for potentially a last ride here.
Yeah. They brought in Devontae Adams, kicked Cooper Kupp to the curb, who we actually thought he would get traded last offseason. So, like, it was kind of like the writing was on the wall. Devontae Adams comes in. Now you upgrade the position, even though he's still up there in age. Alaric Jackson is hurt, and I believe he's out all of this year. But DJ Humphries is going to be super helpful filling in for him. You brought in a center. You brought in Dave Quisenberry. Defensively, you shored up a little bit of the defensive line and linebackers. You got Poona Ford and Nate Landman. So I think they brought in a lot of names that are definitely going to help here. What I like is what they did in the draft. They didn't have a first-round pick. And I believe they originally didn't have a second-round pick. If I'm not mistaken. But they got Terrence Ferguson, another tight end. I think they're just next man up kind of thinking here. They got in Josiah Stewart, linebacker. They got a couple of late round picks on the defensive line and linebackers. And they brought in another running back. And you may be like, well, why do they need another running back? Because they go so deep with these running backs, like in terms of like rotating them in and out, that like everybody gets playing time. So getting yet another fresh pair of legs to throw in there. And Jarquez Hunter, really good running back for the Auburn Tigers. Kind of went under the radar. So I like what they did in the draft to kind of solidify this. But like you said, this may be Matt Stafford's last ride. So this is it.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually realized they still buried there down in the depth chart is that running back. They have Cody Schrader, who was a walk-on. If anyone watched that Cotton Bowl, Missouri and Ohio State, that's what the announcer said about him all game long. Stetson Bennett is still here, by the way.
Yes. Same, and they kept Jimmy G. So, I mean, I think they'll be okay after Stafford leaves, but I don't know if I want either of those quarterbacks starting for my team. But I think some question marks are, can DJ Humphries be like a big enough anchor to take over for Jackson? If Jackson truly is out all year, it's going to be a little bit of a slap in the face watching this offensive line every week.
Yeah.
They got Braden Fisk last year, and they got, what's his name? Jared Verse.
Jared Verse, that's not what's his name. He was like, he changed his whole defense.
Oh, he did. He's so good. He had one of the best rookie seasons I think I've seen in a long time from a defensive end.
Just an absolute stud.
And did you see him recently? Like his post-workout?
I'm sure it's another one of those off-season post-workout, he's completely built vids.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how it is. Their corners are a little light, though. That's another. Like, I would have loved to see them get Jalen Ramsey back. I think he would have added and made this kind of a scary defense, but
yeah.
I think that.
Yeah, the secondary is it's decent. It doesn't give you fear as an offense, though.
No. Like, you can definitely throw on them.
Yeah. And I did like the move.
They brought in Emmanuel Forbes. I forgot that he found his way here at the end of last season.
But yeah, you look at Poona Ford, he was a huge pickup because...
Not just because he's a big guy.
Well, actually, yeah, because he is a big guy, and this team struggled against the run last year. So that was a big pickup to kind of help them get better at stopping that. And so I think we could see the run defense improve. That was a weakness from last year. So I'm curious to see how that shapes out. I think, again, though, you're right about the offensive line. That's a little bit concerning. But I'm kind of picking on receiver depth here a little bit, just because beyond Adams and Puka, your next best option is Tutu Atwell, who he can pop on occasion, but is inconsistent at best. There's not really anyone I look at here and go, they could be, they could step up if one of those guys were to get hurt or something. So you need Puka and Devontae to be healthy all year long.
Yeah, but when back to the whole rotating running backs, you have Kyron Williams, who is really good running back in both the running back, like rushing game and in the pass game. Blake Corum, better on short yardage stuff, but I mean, you can still throw him the ball. It's not like he just can't catch. And then Jarquez Hunter, he's going to be involved in the pass game quite a bit too. So you have a couple guys who can catch the ball, so it adds to that. But yeah, I wanted to see at least one more receiver make it to the rotation.
Yeah, absolutely. He didn't have a lot of draft picks, so maybe not there, but maybe try to maybe try to sign someone somewhere. I mean,
Isaiah Bond.
Yeah.
If he's not like blacklisted.
Man, he might be. That was a wild situation.
Yeah.
Man, I forgot about that. Britton Covey was signed from Philadelphia, kind of buried there on a deep team, so maybe he could be the guy, but I kind of look at him as mostly a guy who's going to help in the return game.
Yeah, and I do like the rotation they have going for the offensive line, and then the front seven of their defense I like.
Yeah.
They're not bad in the secondary. I just think they can be better. I think they can find better options.
Yeah. I mean, and don't forget about this team. One last note here. I mean, don't forget, during the playoffs, this was the only team that came close to beating the Eagles when they went on the warpath through the NFL.
Yeah. They were what, like 6 inches away?
Not from 6 inches, but they were
where that
close.
Ball was thrown?
Yeah.
Like it was 6 inches or so higher than what it needed to be, and then they would have gotten a first down and then potentially punched it in to win the game. I mean, it's a game of inches and all of them count, and they blew all those inches right there. So who knows? I mean, if the Rams could have beaten the Eagles, what could they have been the rest of the playoffs? I don't know, but I think they are the ball bouncing the right way away from them making the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, absolutely. They're right there.
Who do you have winning the division? What's your order?
My order of the division is I have to go with the Rams. There's no way I can pick against them. They are easily the big favorite here. But I got the San Francisco 49ers making a rebound season. They return to the playoffs. The Arizona Cardinals, I have them third.
Whoa.
Maybe not quite ready to contend in the playoffs. It's a deep division. Very hard to pick. And then Seahawks, I'm just a little bit confused at your strategy. I like your defense. They're going to hang there with the other three, but the Seahawks end up in 4.
I slightly disagree with you. I do like where your thought process is going. I have a little bit more faith in the Seahawks offense. So I'm going to copy you with the Rams and the Niners 1-2. I'm going to go with the Seahawks third, maybe being on the outside of the playoff bubble. I think we're still a few weapons away from the Cardinals being able to compete in this division. But once they arrive, it's going to be scary. Yeah. I just don't think that's going to be this year. I think we're going to see flashes of it, but I don't think it's going to be this year.
It's going to be a tough division. There's a lot of good defenses in this division now.
Yes. I mean, you have to with Matthew Stafford, and say what you want about Brock Purdy, but he can sling the pill too. I think the worst quarterback in the division may be Sam Darnold. Maybe Kyler Murray, depending on how you view that whole dynamic. But, I mean, they're pretty deep at starting quarterbacks. So, yeah, Rams, 49ers, Seahawks, Cardinals, same as it was a few years ago.
And then we'll probably ask this for each division. How many playoff teams?
2.
2?
Yeah.
I'm going with 2 as well. There is an outside chance at 3, though.
Yeah.
I think this is the division that could potentially produce.
I mean, when you look at the NFC, they're not as deep as the AFC is. AFC goes down a long ways. NFC, it's like you have your staples, and then the other 3 can be whomever.
Yeah. The hard part about getting 3 for this division is because you've got the NFC North that's so stacked and taking up a bunch of playoff spots as well.
Yes. Well, I think we just covered the NFC West, Justin. What do you think? Any last parting thoughts on this division?
I have nothing else left for this division, but it'll be an exciting year.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what pans out from this division. We'll see how many teams that get into the playoff. We'll see storylines evolve throughout the season, so we'll check back in. But for now, follow us at Updog Sports Talk. Like, subscribe, comment. You can find us on social medias, X, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, TikTok. Yeah, those are the main ones. Obviously, YouTube for shorts and stuff and our videos. You can also listen to us, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. So we'll catch you next time. Again, we are not live during the summer. We are going to recorded videos. So we'll keep pumping those out, and we'll see you guys next fall.
Our next live episode will be during football season. We're almost there.
Yes, almost there. Well, we'll see you guys next time.